How is your "if we're single by 30, we're getting married" friend doing? Story 1. We both got married before 30 to other people. She married a cool dude and had 4 kids. They had a beautiful family, and so do I. I was genuinely happy for her and glad we didn't end up with each other. She perished of cancer a few years ago when her youngest kid was still in elementary school. My heart breaks for her and her family. I feel closer to them than they realize because I knew her since middle school. I think of them often and hope they're finding peace and happiness in this crazy life. I lost contact with mine. Hadn't talked to her in over 20 years, but it was the same deal. She married a pretty cool dude, had 3 kids, and just an awesome family. Last I heard, she lost one of her children at around 13. I felt absolutely awful for her and her family. I also feel like a piece of dirt because I never reached out to her. Edit. Y'all have convinced me that there's now a better time than now, so I'm gonna hunt her down. I'm pretty sure I might know someone who has her number. I don't do Facebook, but I'll look on Instagram. It's been too long, and she was my one and only female best friend since middle school. Y'all, I'm gonna do it. Already know how it's going to go, too. Wonderfully. You know that saying about the best time to plant a tree? Well, it doesn't have to be only about trees. Please, please reach out to them. My husband expired 2 years ago, and our kids, 11 and 8 now, would love the opportunity to hear about their dad when he was younger. Pictures, stories, videos, all of it. It would, of course, make them cry, but it would be a good kind of grief cry, and they would return to those stories and pictures again and again. My mom was unalived by her abuser. They'd been together almost all of my childhood when she and my dad split 6 years ago, and I'd give anything for good stories about her. All I get are stories about how weak she was or how upset she never left him. Or I get awful stories from our dad about how she was nice but never cleaned, or she could have done better but had low self-esteem, etc. Ticks me off because I know she was weak and had low self-esteem, and honestly, I don't have many good memories about her or with her, but I know that that's not the only person she was. She had 30 to 32 years of life before she met him. I was around 6, and I saw how she could be sometimes. My mom loved to laugh and loved to dance and loved to live, but no one ever tells me those stories. I don't even talk to anyone who used to know her because no one was there before or after she expired. My dad was only there because at first they thought they never divorced, so he had the power to make decisions, and then when he realized he didn't, he took my sisters. I was 18 and they were 16 and almost 14, and I had to handle it. I have no pictures of her. She hated pictures for one, and I gave up fighting for anything and just let my little sisters have everything. The only thing I do have is her Tahoe, which she loved and was so proud of, and then her ashes. But I'd rather have happy memories. Your mom wasn't weak. Maybe she was ground down. Maybe she was broken, but that's not who your mother was. She was more than her circumstances. She sounds like a beautiful bird who couldn't find her way out of a cage. Don't you believe that stuff for a second. And frack the people who wanted to define your mom by other people's crimes against her. I can tell she was an incredible woman because she raised a great kid like you. Sending you all the love. I'm so sorry for your loss. Just reading your comment was devastating. Everyone who keeps saying your mom had low self-esteem and just tells you her faults definitely doesn't realize she was the strongest and bravest among them just for surviving each day living with that abuser when they didn't go through that hell. My late husband's dad perished when he was 6 years old. He didn't have many memories of him, and the ones he did have weren't good. His mom never told him any good stories either. He was convinced that his dad had forgotten him and moved on. And though that's true, it was because he had an inoperable brain tumor and was so high all the time to help with the pain that he probably forgot his own name. But a kid's mind can't understand that. Then, anytime he would see family on his dad's side, they would tell him how much he looked like him. So much so that he started to feel like they were trying to make him replace his dad. My husband was definitely not a saint. The last 4 years of our marriage were rough. But that's not something I'd share readily with our kids. To them, he was a great dad who made a stupid choice and it affected all our lives. He went for a swim while drunk and drowned. I want so badly for my husband's friends to share their memories with my kids, but the requests fall on deaf ears. So they'll unfortunately have to live with just my stories for now. I think that just proves how malleable our memories can be, and the truth is probably something we'll never completely accurately remember. And I'm just so glad that there are some people that want to be able to instill a really good memory of the person with their kids. It's really nice to know that that's what they want to do. Story 2. She's been living a wild life. We made the pact at 22, she got married by 24, divorced by 25, new relationship and got pregnant at 26, married at 28, and divorced at 30. In that time, she dropped out of college, went back to college, completed her associates, got nailed for a few substance charges, and is currently fighting for custody of her kid with the dad. So, when's the wedding? Right after the next divorce. Reminds me of a girl I used to know. Going back to our high school days, she was attractive, smart, and studious. She dressed preppy. She was ambitious and wanted to graduate college with a degree in accounting. She then goes to college, starts drinking, gets into partying, and discovers coke. Fast forward to today. We're both in our 30s. I haven't talked to her in forever, but I still have her as a friend on Facebook. She dropped out of college, had multiple failed marriages, had to go to inpatient for a while due to being self-unaliving, refers to herself as a Martian, and ended up having a kid with a local no-name rap artist. I blame accounting. Man, if she just made it to public, she could have continued the C habit professionally. Still a better path than posting sales orders all day. Sounds like you need to be not single and fast. Then it's a good thing I've got a backup pact if this pact went poorly. Gotta have pacts for your pacts. Gotta be thorough. That's kind of interesting. I wonder how deep some of these pacts go. Like, if you're never married by 30, or if you did get married before by 30, does that still count? I mean, how close and how accurate do these things get? What is I think it's the discussion that happens before it too, that you've got to nail those details down. Almost like a prenup. Story 3. I had a friend in middle/high school that told me we should make a marriage pact. If we weren't married by 30, we'd get married. I lost contact with her after high school because she had a scary jealous boyfriend. She randomly added me on Facebook and asked for my phone number. I didn't think it was a big deal, so I sent it. She sent me a very graphic photo of herself and said, "Hey, it's me, Chrissy." And I was like, hot damn. We talked for a bit that day, but that was our only real conversation. She had brought up our pact and we joked about it for a bit. A few months later, she messaged me asking if she could use my shower because her water got shut off. I thought that was unusual, so I just told her it wasn't a good time. That's happened to me before, and I normally message a family member or close friend. A couple days later, she posted a video of her and some dude, not her old boyfriend, smoking hard rock under a freeway overpass. She had a bandana on her face, and they filmed themselves smoking, headbanging to music, thinking they looked completely bad to the bone. I felt really bad for her at that point. Then I wondered if I had let her use my shower, if she would have robbed me with her cholo-looking boyfriend. Not too long after that, her boyfriend started posting online that she was missing and he can't locate her. 2 weeks after that, he changed his status to single on Facebook, and I still haven't heard from my childhood friend. I hope she's okay out there. Really hope that she can get her stuff together and get clean. This might just be the worst outcome I've read on this thread so far. Sorry to hear that this happened. You were 100% about to get robbed. I've gotten that call before and called her out on it, and she hung up right away. That's kind of awful. It's kind of one of those things where you have to say, be sure of who you're making a pact with and keep in touch with them, because you don't know how their life is going to progress that much, even if you have this talk about where you think your lives are going. Story 4. This actually did happen for a friend of mine and his wife, but it was more of a conversation along the lines of, hey, remember that pact we made when we were 18 about getting married at 30 if we were both single? Well, we're now 30 and single. Did you want to give dating a shot? 5 years later, they're now happily married. I have no idea why they didn't give dating a shot years before, but that's none of my business. Is this friend of yours in this thread? Top comment replicates your story. To be honest, it makes sense that friends dating works better later in life. First-time relationships, people do stupid stuff, learn from mistakes and such. Now they both ironed out the kink and can make a real partnership work. People change and develop yearly until their mid-20s. There's a chance if they started dating at 19, their personalities would have conflicted and broke up. But now that they're adults, they would probably be able to persevere through any hardship or differences. My wife and I knew each other at 16, and we would not have fallen in love if we got together at even 18. It wasn't until 24 that we gave it a chance, and we've been married for almost a decade. It's also that what you're looking for in a relationship changes. What I thought I wanted in my early 20s versus what I wanted when I was 30 were drastically different things. People change and develop yearly until their mid-20s. Yeah, people change and develop yearly. Even in my 30s, I'm learning about things about me, like how I should adjust expectations from other people. Even for low expectations, they surprisingly fail. Story 5. This is actually my time to shine. I met Lisa when I was in high school through a mutual friend. Lisa lived about 4 hours, but we kept in touch by writing letters. This was the 1980s. We met up for a spring break trip at the beach and got along well since we hadn't seen each other in several years. We both went to different colleges and dated on and off some during our college years. After college, we dated, then she went to Germany for 3 years. We'd see each other casually when she'd come home, but nothing serious. When she came back home from Germany, we started seeing each other again. We made a pact that if we were not married by 30, we'd get married. We drifted apart a bit at 29 years old, and we were both dating other people. She ended up marrying the person she was dating, and I ended up marrying the person I was dating. We both went to each other's weddings with our respective significant others. We'd meet as couples and go to dinner sometimes, and once vacation together for a long weekend. Our kids went to the same school for a while, too. Then we lost touch for about 5 years, until one day I ran into Lisa at a local Starbucks. I'd heard someone call my name, and it was Lisa. We hugged and caught up for a while. I then asked how her husband was doing, and she said they split up about a year ago. She asked about my wife, and I told her we split up about 10 months ago. We looked at each other, and I asked her if she'd meet me for coffee the next day, and she immediately said yes. We've dated for several years and got married in December 2021. That's a lot to happen in Lisa's 4-hour lifespan. R.I.P. Lisa. I laughed audibly, because the script said Lisa lived about 4 hours instead of Lisa lived about 4 hours away. Good catch. Story 6. We made the pact at 15 as a joke. We finished high school, college, and moved into early adulthood while he dated other people. I was single until 23 when I met my match, who I'm still with to this day. This year, he broke up with his girlfriend because he said he loved me and couldn't be friends anymore because it was too hard for him. It sucks, but I wish him the best. But he had a 7-year window and really missed his chance. Ugh. I think it sounds like he was sort of counting on this pact, and I think he was taking it a little more seriously than the other person was. It's too bad that this is going to end pretty badly. It's just going to end in some hurt feelings at the very least. Story 7. I kissed her this morning when I was leaving for work. We'll get married in 3 days. No joke. Made the pact, reconnected in person after a few years on my 31st birthday, which is 3 days before her 30th. We went out for a date, and we haven't spent a night apart since. And in 3 days, we say the old I do's. Edit. Obligatory, wow, this blew up. Thank you for all the kind words and the awards. I'm going to show my fiancée this later after work. She'll love it. Wedding is in 2 days, August 18th. That is sickeningly adorable. We made the pact when we were 19 and had been friends since 15. It's cute as frack. This just gets more and more grossly adorable. I'm disgusted by how cute it is. The old, it's so cute I want to squeeze the fracking life from it. That one commenter does not like romance one bit. Story 8. She's a single mom now, so I'm getting ready to strap my stepdad boots on here shortly. Hey man, sometimes stepdads are the most important dads. Stepdad here. I needed to hear that today. Stepdad with a stepdad here. I also needed to hear that, and I agree. Yay for stepdads. I was just thinking about how much I appreciate my stepdad today. Nobody's perfect, but he's stepped up for our family in big ways while we were growing up, and I love spending time with him as an adult. He's been a far more stable and supportive father to us than my bio dad could be, and I love him, and I love getting his chihuahua wearing funny clothes memes. My mom married my stepdad when I was 6. They got divorced 25 years later. I still keep in touch with him because he's dope AF. My kids still see him and call him Grandpa. My bio dad, on the other hand. Stepdad. Dad who stepped up. Story 9. Had a married at 40 option. Lost contact with her for a few years and had started to build our friendship. She got married and moved away, but was in the process of splitting up and remembering her old life. Had arranged to go and see her in her new flat. A big night out planned. But then, contact suddenly stopped again. Found out about 6 months later that she'd had a car crash and expired instantly. Her still husband hadn't told any of her old friends what had happened. She was the first one from our friend group that had perished. It hit hard. Still think of her often and the mischief we got up to in our late teens. My smile reading those other comments dropped immediately. This is so upsetting. My condolences. Story 10. I married her sister. I never wanted to marry her. She was my friend. And she thought of the if we aren't married by 30 thing. Heartbreaker she can never forget. Same here, except I was the younger sister who married the friend. I heard about their pact and told him, I'll do you one better. Happy ending. My sister and her husband tied the knot just a month after us. Edit. Updated the original post to clarify and avoid further momentary shock/horror. Original? Happy ending. My sister and I got married within a month of each other. 2 different men, just to be clear. Good to know that you didn't marry your sister. Alabama has exited the chat. Story 11. I made that pact with so many people that I hope no one comes to make claims when I turn 30. So, about our pact. Ah, frack, I knew this day was coming. Wait, but we had a pact. You traitor. Wait, y'all got pacts too? Everyone lining up to wed this person. I think all the potential suitors should fight to the death and the last one standing gets to marry them. Now this is an idea. To the gates of Anon. Get in line. Story 12. She's married to my good friend, but things are rocky. I just got divorced, so maybe we'll revisit this in our 40s? Just kidding. Edit. Thanks for the love. I actually just saw my good friend last week. That's when he shared they had discussed the D word and that he cheated on her once. I said if he wanted to keep her, don't ever tell her about that and don't do it again. Also, he may want to cut down on drinking. She's also a good friend of mine, so I know that's one of her gripes. I really don't want them to split because I'm so proud of them. They're former horse addicts that successfully kicked addiction, and they have 2 kids. Unless, no. Well, maybe. Never mind. But, I'm kidding. Unless, Story 13. With us it was, if we're still single at 65, let's just move in together. At least we like each other. We met in our first year at university and had been close friends ever since. She passed away of breast cancer at 63. Miss her every day. I lost mine as well. We met during high school. I went to her funeral this year. She was only 27. Sorry for your loss, friend. Condolences. The young ones are the hardest. Story 14. He's my soon-to-be ex-husband. Oh, yikes. Hopefully it's a pleasant divorce. We're actually navigating it quite well now. Want to make a pact? Story 15. I have a friend who says this to me every once in a while. I'd have no problem with that, except she makes it sound like she'd be miserable if she had to end up with me, so no thanks. You keep dating horrible men, and I'll watch from the sideline if I have time. Keep working on those farts in the meantime. Thanks. Story 16. He's divorced, depressed, and addicted. I had to block him because he was in the habit of making many late-night calls when he drank, and he's now a full-blown alcoholic. I advised therapy. He said beer was his therapy. Waking up to 40-plus drunken text messages and 10-plus missed calls is not really something I find palatable for a friendship, especially after setting boundaries. My husband never complained or made any comments. He just let me sort it out on my own. Story 17. I do actually have a friend who did this. They reconnected after not seeing each other for a good while. They laughed and reminisced about their funny agreement to get married at 30 if they hadn't met someone else. They did get married pretty quick and were happy for about a year. Then they spent a couple more years miserable together. Things got very bad and he ended up divorcing her. He's now happily married to someone who seems to be much better for him. I think this is one of the issues of aiming for marriage as an end goal rather than a relationship worthy of marriage. Story 18. I'm marrying him in November. Well, marrying him to another woman. I'm their officiant. So when he said, I want you to marry me, it didn't mean what it sounded like? They've been friend-zoned. It's a more extreme form of friend-zoning. Depends on the type of priest. Hopefully not Mayan. Aztec. She's gonna win his heart. Story 19. He's married to a gorgeous woman with two of the cutest babies I've ever seen. He's a white man and was racist AF in high school, something my hormonal butt was willing to overlook. But now he owns a gym with his best friend who's black, and his wife is Asian. Dude turned around and achieved his dreams in the best way imaginable. Killer combo. Living his best life. And I'm in a long-term relationship myself, so we're both out here just nailing it. The redemption arc. Story 20. Not me, but I have a former coworker that made that pact with his senior high school prom date. Lost touch for 7 or so years. Reconnected at the 10-year high school reunion. Got married 2 years later. Now 2 kids with a third on the way and very happy. It was cool to watch the majority of that story go down. I have no pact in place, but I'm still gonna be equally as hopeful in my 10-year. Story 21. He has like 5 or 6 kids. He actually hit me up when we were 30, we're 32 now, and asked about the deal. I was like, dude, don't you have like 5 kids? I was not gonna take on that circus. It's a marriage pact, not a free nanny pact. A similar purse or a nurse for the older guys. Story 22. He's unhappily married to someone else. Spends all his time gardening now. So, how's his garden? It's very nice. He even has an Instagram dedicated to it. When you said gardening, I imagined a corpse buried in the garden with plants growing on it. Story 23. Over COVID, I saw his profile pop up on my Switch, so I reached out to her and started catching up for the first time since I moved away for college. One thing led to another. I asked her if she'd like to move up the timeline on our promise, and we plan to get married next fall at the nice young age of 26. I can't tell if the nice young age of 26 is sarcasm or not, but that is young. Story 24. His wife has banned him from speaking to me. Ouch.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.